special interest in renewable energy, and we've been a net zero investor since 2010. So somewhat a little bit ahead of the curve, but not quite ahead of the curve as you were with your vanadium battery 40 years ago, Maria. I was asked to come and have an interview with you because there's so many people in this room who want to hear more from you. And I think actually in general in Australia, I think there's many people who would want to hear more from you because what you did was groundbreaking. One, on the scientific side, on the foresight of having something that will solve many of the problems that we have now and into the future, but also because you're a woman. And leading such an incredible discovery in science as a woman needs to be recognised for 40 years ago, but also for today, because there's still not enough women in science. So congratulations on all three fronts. This room wouldn't be filled with the incredible people that are here today without you bringing them together. And that was pointed out by a couple of people in this room during the coffee break. So, Maria, perhaps we start by talking about how does it feel to have everyone in this room and talking about something that you and your team came up with 40 years ago?
First of all, I'd like to just make a comment because the foresight as far as the need for long duration energy storage, that came from Martin Green. I think I mentioned it this morning. It was his because he was working on photovoltaics, and he knew from the beginning that in the future they would need long duration energy storage. So he's the one who sort of guided me into that area. And also, in those days, I was one of the very few women in engineering, in our chemical engineering department, and I have quite a few people here in the audience, Tony Fain, Barry Walsh, who were the ones who really, I suppose they mentored me and gave me so much assistance, and I never felt that I was a woman in the wrong place. So I just felt extremely comfortable and working with all my colleagues at the time.
Good on you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, and as far as seeing all these people here today, I'm just so honoured and moved, really. It's taken a long time, but I think the time has come, and that's why I wanted to use this opportunity for the 40-year anniversary to acknowledge and recognise everyone who played a role in developing the technology. Because it wasn't me, I was a little bit stubborn at the time. I just never kept on going, regardless of I suppose the problems that we were encountering. Mm-hmm. But I was being stubborn at the time because I thought that eventually we would need this technology, and it's happening now. It took a long time, but it's happening finally. Thank you, everyone.
What was the greatest stumbling blocks? What were the things that really kept you up at night, or really had you working through the weekends, overnight, etc., to overcome? I'm assuming funding was one of them.
Funding was always an issue. That's right. So once you get the initial funding, it's great to be able to employ all these people and give them a project to do. But then you have to keep on thinking, I'm going to get more funding to keep employing them. I can't. So at night, I couldn't sleep at night thinking, where's the next project grant going to come from? Not necessarily because I wanted this project to keep on going, because I wanted to be able to employ all the people that we were already employing. So that's why I suppose that's what drove me more than anything else. I think that's what drove me.
And scientifically, what was the biggest stumbling block for you? On the technologies.
At the beginning, there were very few commercial materials that were available for us to be able to use them and build the battery. So we had to go through and just find all sorts of different membrane materials, electrode materials, and just test them to see if they would work in the battery. Prices were very high at the time. And one of the things that I mentioned this morning as well, vanadium, we started off with a quite inexpensive form of vanadium, but early on, our licensee at the time said that we had to find a way of using the raw material, the cheapest raw material, which is vanadium pentoxide. And so that was a big challenge for us, but fortunately we had we have one of our employees there who just made this simple experiment. This is our Rod McDermott. He carried out a simple experiment, and he saw that you could actually dissolve this very insoluble material using a simple process. And that really was a major breakthrough, because if we hadn't achieved that, then we would have had to say goodbye to vanadium batteries years ago. But the fact that
your team.
And the team, yes, unfortunately, but fortunately, yeah. But we were very lucky, and that's one of the things that people ask me: why do we keep on going? Well, not so much why do we keep on going, but I keep on saying that it was so much luck. There's so much luck along the way. There are so many researchers and scientists who work hard and they work long all their life, and they don't really achieve what they set out to achieve. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we were blessed with good fortune as well, and hardworking students and researchers.
So 40 years on, what excites you most now? And we'll start with sort of the commerciality side, the application side. What excites you the most about what you're seeing in the marketplace?
Well, I couldn't be more excited than hearing our former student, Tang, I can't see him at the moment, but, well, there you are, when he was telling us about all the work that's going on in China. It's just unbelievable. Gigawatt hours of energy storage is being implemented and using vanadium flow batteries in China. So that sort of shows us that it can be done on a large scale. And I'm hoping, and in fact, Fukushima Kyoto Electric Power Corporation and Sumitomo, for years they had been demonstrating the technical viability of the vanadium battery in so many different applications. So they actually did prove the technology worked out in the real world, not just in the laboratory, in many different applications. So I think we have a lot to thank Sumitomo and Fukushima Kyoto for their groundbreaking engineering and hard work as well. So yeah, it's great to see that they were continuing to persevere despite all the difficulties, in the fact that the energy storage market wasn't developing as fast as it should have been. But now I think they're also hopefully will be able to see the rewards of their efforts.
And what about in Australia? What excites you about it in Australia? What gives you hope?
That's one of the things that was driving me at the beginning, was the possibility of having building up a new manufacturing industry in Australia. And that's what I always wanted. We wanted to find an Australian partner as well who was prepared to build and develop the vanadium battery in Australia and the vanadium industry in Australia. But unfortunately, when the patents were sold to this company, Pinnacle, the company was taken over, the patents left Australia, we lost control of the technology. But to see it coming back again now, that's what's exciting me. Yeah, so I thought we'd lost the technology forever, but once the patents expired, that was the best thing ever, actually. It now allowed us to really start to work on it here in Australia without having any freedom to operate issues.
And what about the next generation, the flow battery, and everything that entails? What excites you most about what you're seeing being developed, being applied in a commercial setting?
Well, we're seeing, and in a way, I sort of feel, oh, gee whiz, they might overtake and take over from the vanadium, but I think there's going to be so much demand and so much need for energy storage in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of space in the market for every chemistry and all sorts of different battery technologies anyway. So I think everyone will be able to share the opportunities in the future, because the demand is going to be so big.
Mm-hmm. What do you see is the opportunity for Australia?
Well, we have an enormous amount of vanadium. The resources in Australia are huge. So what we need to do is make sure that we get government support and funding and investment support to be able to commercialise and to capitalise on our resources that we have. So we need to be able to get it out of the ground. We need to, and hopefully process it here, produce electrolyte here, and then use it in our own locally built vanadium batteries and other types of flow batteries as well, which I think will also help to achieve our net zero targets. Because when we look at the world demand for energy storage in the future, we're not going to have enough. I don't think we're going to have enough vanadium or anything in the world to be able to meet that future demand for the whole world. So that's why all sorts of different chemistries and technologies are going to be needed in the future.
Can we compete with the likes of China? Is it worth us trying to compete? I mean, we've heard about the development and the acceleration that's been going on there. Is it worthwhile us even trying?
Well, a lot of people keep on saying that to me when I say, well, we should be able to make vanadium batteries in Australia. And they say, well, why would you? You can just buy them more cheaply from China. But, you know, China's going to need their own batteries. So they're growing their capabilities and their manufacturing capacity to meet their own needs. And the rest of the world. Where are we going to be in line, waiting if we want to order batteries for the future? We're going to have to wait, as we are already waiting. And that's one of the problems. People are saying, well, why aren't there more vanadium batteries out already implemented? And I say, well, a lot of companies try to buy one, and they can't buy one because there's not enough manufacturing capacity right now in the world to meet the demand now. So they look for, and I think we already heard, one of our panelists was saying that they know that they can ring up and buy a lithium battery, and it'll be delivered in 6 months. Whereas the same doesn't apply at the moment for vanadium or other types of flow batteries. The production capacity, the manufacturing capacity isn't big enough at the moment. We are starting to see that it is growing, and in order for us to be able to compete with cheaper products that are coming out of China or India or wherever, we need to have automated production lines. Mm-hmm. And we've already seen that China's installing automated production lines, so we need to be doing that now. Once you've automated the process, it doesn't matter, what the cost of labour is, and that's where we need to be heading as an industry, a flow battery industry, to develop and establish and automated production lines, which can be used by all of the companies in the future.
Do you think Australia has the skill set to do it?
Definitely, of course we have.
Because every industry is always screaming about needing to import talent to do anything.
Well, unfortunately, we have to export. We always have exported our talent because they didn't have the prospects here. But we train a lot of very good engineers. We should be able to use that talent here in Australia.
We missed the opportunity with the photovoltaic cell.
Unbelievable.
A sensitive topic, I'm sure, in this room, given where we're sitting, within UNSW and the people that are in the room. But we missed that opportunity as a country and as an economy. Are you confident that we can seize this opportunity?
Well, I'm hopeful. I am hopeful because I see a lot of goodwill and a lot of, I suppose, determination from people in this room. So I think it's the time is right. There's a lot. We've got a really good core flow battery industry already being established here in Australia. So I think we should be able to work together to be able to develop sort of common capabilities and resources that will help all the companies to thrive and produce low-cost flow batteries in the future. And that's what I'm hoping that's going to happen.
And what's the market out there? What's
the market is enormous.
Yeah,
It took a long time to develop it, but if you look at say the net zero target by 2050, and getting to 50% renewables by 2030, whatever it is, we can't do it without energy storage. And that's what, in fact, suddenly has accelerated this recognition and effort to try and develop these energy storage technologies. It happened almost overnight. In a few years, we were waiting for it to happen, and then all of a sudden, overnight, once all these governments said, okay, we have to implement renewable energy and get to net zero by 2050, all of a sudden, the whole industry sort of started to turn around and recognise that we have to work fast. We have to work really fast, actually. Yeah.
So you've got all these people in this room, a lot of goodwill, as you said, and a lot of very clever people in all different parts of the market that are going to need to come together. How do you or what do you want everyone to do when they leave this conference? What do you want them to take away? What are the actions that they need to take in order to take this from a dream to a reality, to have Australia have its own vanadium battery or flow battery industry?
Well, one of the reasons for having this symposium was not only to bring together the vanadium battery community, but the flow battery community as well. Because, and thanks to Jens, we have this Australian-New Zealand flow battery network, which is already starting to bring together all the different players in the flow battery area in Australia. And it's been really, I've just really enjoyed the online meetings that we've had. We're going to have a face-to-face meeting tomorrow afternoon, but every few months we've had the online meetings where all the different members have come together and they've shared all of their experiences and concerns and issues, and I think this is, and so what we wanted to do is to use this as a forum to bring everyone together, the whole flow battery industry, and see how we can all work together to build this industry in Australia. Mm-hmm. And I think that was another important driving force for this symposium. And so hopefully after tomorrow we're going to have a few more panel discussions, and then hopefully we'll all go away and start thinking and continuing through our flow battery network, continuing to discuss how we can achieve this in Australia mm-hmm. jointly.
And what kind of actions do you want to come from these conversations and these meetings and these panels and this sharing of ideas? What do you think? I mean, you've got governments out there, you've got industries, you've got miners, you've got, oh hi Tim, you've got a whole bunch of different players, but you've also got a whole bunch of different bodies that you need to line up. And so what are the calls to action for the people in this room? I mean, surely you're used to rallying troops, rallying your team from 40 years ago to march them all towards getting a vanadium battery developed.
Doing this in the laboratory. And
so doing this in the laboratory, and now you need to do this
having to do with
in the public space.
Yes,
so how do you,
what
do you want them to do? What do you need each and every person in this room to do to get this?
Well, I think we need to lobby the government, definitely. Mm-hmm. We all need to get together as a community and lobby the government to make sure that they do provide support that is needed to start producing the critical minerals that we need to help to put together. I'd like to see a national flow battery manufacturing facility where we can potentially do pilot production of stacks. And that's one of the most difficult things to get the funding for, because going from a laboratory, we can build laboratory prototypes in the laboratory, but in the end, unless you get proper mass production type methods, which take a lot of investment to do, it's very hard to prove those concepts or those designs in a real commercial system. So I think if we can get government funding, and if we can all agree that we could share, we don't have to share the stack technology, but we should be able to share some national facility to allow people to do pilot production of their stacks without necessarily having to give away their designs or technology. And I think that will help everyone in this, because
so better collaboration.
Yes, definitely.
Better and smarter collaboration.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping that everyone will agree to discuss that and implement that and get government funding to also support that.
Okay. Well, we're out of time. It's an absolute joy to be able to interview someone as insightful and as brave and as bold as you to bring together something like this from 40 years ago, and what an achievement to be here today with this technology that's being developed and implemented around the world to solve a critical problem that we face as a society. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you on behalf of the people that I spoke to here today. They're incredibly grateful.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you again to everyone. It's just, as I say, I didn't do all the work. Everyone else has done the work. I just perhaps I was being very stubborn, kept going, hitting my head against the wall, many, many times, wondering if I was really wasting my time, but thank goodness we just kept on going, and thank goodness for everyone else's contributions.
Well, it sounds like the rest of us all need to be as stubborn as you in making this a reality in Australia, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Olivia. Thank you.